to superior management effectiveness. It's often said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. By that definition, I have seen plenty of it in my time as a strategy advisor. When executives and managers find that a given framework, general practice, theory, or way of thinking, what I will call a model for short, doesn't lead to the desired outcome, they almost automatically assume that the model in question wasn't. Description, therefore, is to apply that model again, more vigorously, and when that produces the same unsatisfactory result, the prescription is to try even harder. If focusing on maximizing shareholder value doesn't maximize shareholder value, then focus more singularly on shareholder value. If making execution a priority doesn't result in better execution, make execution still more of a priority. If your culture doesn't change in the direction you want, then mandate culture change even more aggressively. Existing models are extraordinarily persistent in the face of ineffectiveness, and that is because our use of models to organize our thinking and action is very automatic. As MIT Sloan System Dynamics professor John Sterman points out, human beings don't consciously make a choice whether to model. It is only a question of which model, on which front. We prefer to apply a known and accepted way of thinking about a problem at hand because we know that thinking from first principles, as we sometimes must do, when we encounter an unprecedented situation for which we have no model, is arduous, time-consuming, and downright scary. Once we have been confronted by that novel situation, next time round we'll almost certainly apply some form of the model we eventually figure out. We favor using existing available models because it's easier and quicker. The inclination is reinforced over and over in formal training. From the very start, the education system teaches us models, how to multiply, how to structure a paragraph, how to categorize species, and gets us to practice using them over and over until each becomes second nature. Business education is not so different. It teaches a vast array of models, the 5 forces, the 5 mindsets, the 4 Ps, GAAP, WAIT, ACC, to name just a few. Over time, competing models battle for dominance, and as happens in nature with species, there is typically convergence on a dominant design in each domain in management. Winners tend to become received business wisdom. These winners get used over and over again, becoming the default framework in the contexts for which they were designed. It should come as no surprise, therefore, that when one of these models doesn't seem to work, the manager in question won't reject the model, but will instead assume personal responsibility for failing to apply it. It's extremely difficult and socially risky to question an established model that many people believe and to start building a new model from scratch. That questioning and building has become part of my job. So it took me a while through the process of working, reflecting, analyzing, to figure out what it was indeed my job. Executives, mainly CEOs, hire me to help them improve the performance of their companies. That usually means that there is something that frustrates or worries them in some way, something that isn't working as well as they wish or they would have hired me in the first place. To help them, I need to diagnose why their results aren't what they wish. It has become clear to me over the years that in nearly every case, the poor results weren't down to their not working diligently enough in pursuit of their goals. It was because their model was guided, their actions wasn't up to the task. One classic example, a client hired me to figure out why its L&D program was producing smaller results and smaller wins, even though the company had invested ever more time and energy in their L&D projects through a rigorously gating procedure that weeded out the projects that show less promise. Despite all that rigor, the company hadn't had a real breakthrough product in several years. What quickly became clear to me is that the model implicitly guiding its actions was that early screening based on the rigorous analysis of available market data would increase their L&D productivity to eliminating unlikely prospects, thereby freeing up time and resources for more promising prospects and programs. On the surface, that model made sense, but when I looked closely at the process, I realized that the screening methodology the client used while projecting future sales based on currently existing data. This meant that for innovations that were minor variations in the status quo, relatively compelling data tended to be available, and these projects consistently made it through the various gates. For more breakthrough innovations, however, there wasn't good data available, because ideas were new, and hence projections of huge future sales tended to be dismissed as speculative. In other words, the seemingly sensible model was logically flawed. It was predictive on the availability of good market data, but existing market data is not likely to be relevant for genuinely breakthrough innovations. So was there a different model the company could use instead? There was, and it's based on American pragmatist philosopher Charles. New idea in the history of the world has been proven in advance analytically, which means that if you insist on rigorous proof of the merits of an idea during its development, you will kill it if it's truly a breakthrough idea, because there will be no proof of its breakthrough characteristics in advance. If you are going to screen innovation projects, therefore, a better model is one that has you assess them on the strength of their logic. A theory of why the idea is a good one, not on the strength of the existing data. Then, as you get further into each project that passes the logic test, you need to look for ways to create data that enables you to test and adjust, or perhaps scale the idea as you develop it in the case of my client with R&D and L&D project problems, and thousands of others like it. Applying the model more diligently wasn't the answer. Solving the problem required a new way to think. It required a different model. That became the heart of my work. Rather than accept the client's existing model, I would step back to ask what it was about the model that caused it to fail and meet the needs of the problem it was designed to address. And more importantly, was there a different, more powerful way to think about the problem? Looking back over my job now, I realize that I have been always fascinated by models, strategic planning, the 4Ps, etc., because the degree to which they shape everything we do, from elementary school onward throughout my formal education. I probed the models that my teachers and professors taught me. How did they know that the world worked that way? Were they sure? Did it work in all cases? Asking these questions was how I learned, how I got what I thought was better. And while I'm sure that a lot of my teachers, bosses and clients have found my constant questioning annoying, a fair few have also found the questions interesting I have acted on the answers we came up with together. That's what our today course is about. So, welcome manager. I hope you find this new course interesting. We will be developing some cases mainly based in strategic planning. So, I hope you're interested and see you in the course. This is Víctor Mark Romo, your strategic planning and performance management consultant and coach. I also develop L&D programs in order for organizations to join and form connections between managers, middle managers. And these, my friends, are called DDCs that distribute development communities of learning and development. Said this, I hope to see you in the course. Welcome.